For many years now, the Kona Electric has set the benchmark for all electric SUVs, offering an extremely well-rounded package, which includes things like range, efficiency, practicality and equipment. It's a car which I found really easy to recommend. But for 2024, it's now in its second generation. And is it as good as ever? Well, hopefully that's what I'm going to find out in today's video. Hi guys, I'm Tish and welcome back to my channel Auto Social UK. In today's video, I'm going to be taking a closer look at the latest generation of Kona Electric. Now, if you're interested in the non-electric petrol or hybrid variants, then I've already reviewed those and I'll pop a link somewhere above my head. But today we're going to be talking all about electric. So if that sounds good, then please keep watching. And if you like new car reviews and car content, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button. So just before we take a look at the exterior and interior of the new Kona Electric, let's talk about the really important things when it comes to electric cars, and that's charging and range. The second generation of Kona features a slightly bigger battery than before. A new 65.4 kilowatt-hour battery replaces the outgoing 64 kilowatt-hour one, and that squeezed just 4 more miles out of the range-topping model to 304 miles. As before, there's also a more affordable version of the Kona Electric. It will feature a 48.4 kilowatt-hour battery, replacing the existing 39.2 one, and this has boosted the 189-mile range to 212. As before, the standard heat pump will ensure that these predicted figures are more than achievable over many rivals. The new Kona Electric also provides customers with faster charging options, with an increased DC fast charging capability of 102.3 kilowatts, compared to the previous generation's 75 maximum. A move in the right direction, but some way off of the other Hyundai products, with 232 kilowatt charging capabilities. Another fab upgrade includes a heated charging flap, which helps charging in cold weather. Again, very similar to the battery tech, if you were looking for massive changes on the exterior, you might be slightly disappointed. If you were hoping for a mini Ioniq 5, it's not quite there, but it has had some style tweaks which have brought it in line with the Ioniq 6 and the Ioniq 5, and that includes the introduction of some pixel elements. So at the front, you've got this light bar which spans all the way along the front of the bonnet, and that's finished in that pixel design. Also, the badge has been moved up from the middle of the car onto the bonnet instead. The headlamps have also been moved down to give it a wider stance. This car is actually wider, longer and taller, and that's given you a ton of interior space, which I can't wait to tell you all about. But also, by moving those headlamps, it's given it an extra wide stance. You've also got a new bottom diffuser, which is finished in gloss black, which I really quite like. And again, you've got those almost twinkly elements of the squares at the bottom, which bring it in line with the rest of the Hyundai range. I don't prefer the electric version to the petrol version. I prefer the petrol, which is slightly more aggressive in its styling, but it's still an improvement over the outgoing car. You've got the same similar designs that you get on other Hyundai models when it comes to the alloy wheels. These are often finished in a two-tone diamond cut. These are the smaller wheels which are going to give you the most amount of range, but you can get some more extravagant wheels, but you are going to use more of that electric range, and it drops it to just under 300 miles. I think these wheels look perfectly fine. What I do think is a big upgrade is the squared off wheel arches. That's made a huge difference. It's made the car look a lot more dynamic in its styling. Similar to that, you also now have a Z line which runs along the side of the car as well. This is very similar to the Hyundai Tucson, and once again it's just sharpened up a slightly soft car in its previous gen. Similarly, around the back, it mirrors the front of the car, again with a light bar across the tailgate, and you also have that flat badge with Kona spelled out across the back. You'll also find those pixelated designs at the bottom, once again harking back to the new generation of Ioniq products. That extra body size has meant that it now has more boot space than ever. I mean, the Hyundai Kona was always pretty good, but now you'll find 466 litres of space, which is huge. It's a lot bigger than the Jeep Avenger, which gets around 380. The Atto 3 also gets around 340, so it's bigger than that. In fact, the only SUV electric which beats the Kona is its brother from another mother, the Kia Niro.
Another handy feature in the boot includes a parcel shelf, strong enough to hold items on top, but when not in use, it can be slotted behind the rear seats. On top of the great and versatile boot space, the Kona also has storage under the bonnet. It may not be vast, but it's enough for a handbag or some charging cables.
The Kona Electric has been specifically set up to handle road imperfections comfortably, including speed bumps. You practically barely feel them when you drive over them. It offers an easy driving experience thanks to the steering wheel, which is quite light, and its relatively compact size, making it manoeuvrable. Weighing just over 1,700 kilograms, it's also a pretty lightweight EV compared to other vehicles. Imagine saying that 10 years ago. The electric powertrain in the Kona ensures pretty near silent driving conditions, whether you're driving around town or on the motorway. The Kona delivers a smooth and quiet driving experience. Additionally, thanks to its instant torque, it enables effortless acceleration. But the focus on driving comfort when it comes to the Kona has had its trade-offs in terms of handling. This car may not feel particularly sharp, and it doesn't really feel firmly planted on the road either, especially due to its front-wheel drive configuration, which lacks grip on cold and wet roads. It's worth noting that Hyundai have actually changed some of their other models, like the Ioniq 5 and 6, to rear-wheel drive instead, which just goes to show that front-wheel drive and electric torque isn't really the best combination. Although the previous generation Kona was extra bad in terms of its wheel spin, this one has a slightly more smooth power delivery, which does give a better driving experience. The Kona, just like a few other electric vehicles, has wheel-mounted paddles behind the steering wheel, which allow you to adjust the brake regeneration. There's 4 different levels of the brake regen. You've got 0, 1, 2 and 3, which is definitely more convenient and more intuitive method than navigating through all of the sub-menus on the touchscreen. I'm very conflicted when it comes to the interior of this car. A lot of journalists have said that they love the new changes to the interior of the Kona, but I'm not so sure. I don't think it looks as modern or quite as attractive as the Kia e-Niro. That would be my preference when it comes to interior styling, but maybe Hyundai are going for a slightly different approach. A more old school approach. Sure, you still have the modern elements, which include those 2 conjoined 12-inch screens, which I really like actually. The functionality is fantastic. You've got all of your features and settings above and beyond what you get in other cars. You get some really cool features, but it's slightly more old school when it comes to further down the cabin, and that's buttons. Buttons, buttons, so many buttons. It's actually quite glorious, isn't it? I've forgotten how much I love an old school button. Perhaps it does look a tiny bit cluttered. I think some people will find that. I know certain people who like a minimalist feel, like the Tesla, won't really like this, but if you want a button for pretty much every function, then this is going to be the car for you. Now, the on-off switch is slightly hidden. That's going to be because, of course, if this was a left-hand drive car, that's going to be much more in sight. But here it's a little bit hidden behind the steering wheel, but once you know it's there, you shouldn't find it any issue. And that's similar to the new location of the gear selector. That's now behind the steering wheel instead of in the center console, and this frees up so much space. Now let's talk about space, because it's very customizable in the Kona and I love its functionality. So you've got some storage up front, which includes wireless charging on the higher spec models, and that's going to fit a mobile phone, even the biggest mobile phones, which I like. And then you've got this center console, which is one connected center console. You've got the buttons to push out to have your regular cup holders, but what if you've fallen into the craze of having these absolutely ginormous water bottles? Where are you going to put that? Well, you can actually fold away your cup holders and then that fits there perfectly. Although it doesn't really fit there perfectly, does it? Because it's going to roll around. But there is another way that you can put this in here. So there's actually, here you've got a couple of pull-out parts, which means, look at that. That fits in there absolutely perfect. Not sure what I'd do that. Put it in the glove box, which unfortunately the glove box isn't the biggest, so that's a little bit of a shame. But you've got a little bit more storage up here, just if you wanted to place items, your passenger. It's just overall a really good, really functional cabin. On the back seats, this is where you're going to see the biggest improvement when it comes to space, thanks to that extended wheelbase. I have got so much legroom. Now this seat is set up for my driving position. I appreciate I'm not the tallest, but I'm also not the shortest. I'm around 5'5", 5'6", and look at that. You could easily fit a 6-foot person behind my driving position, and even probably behind another 6-footer. I've got loads of headroom as well. I've also got nice amenities, which include a pull-out armrest with a couple of cup holders. I've got some door pockets. I know it's not revolutionary, but you have got door pockets, and I like that you've got plastic rear seats because that means they're not going to get too dirty. I've also got heated seats as well, which is a bit of a luxury, and really good for saving range. If you want to keep your rear seat passengers nice and warm, then they can pop on their heated seats, like in the front. I've got 2 USB-C charge points, and also you can see, look how nice and flat that floor is, so loads and loads of legroom. But here's a really cool feature. There's actually a 3-pin plug, which is connected to the car's larger battery. And that means you can sit in the back and plug things in like your hair straighteners, which seems very, very simple, but actually I think that that is so handy. So what do you think of the changes of the Hyundai Kona? For now, I think it's enough to keep it current with the rest of the lineup. It still offers a really well-rounded package, and the good news is it's not that much more expensive than it previously was, but you get all of those nice upgrades. It's definitely better than a lot of the cars that you get from the Stellantis group, although it possibly doesn't look quite as interesting. But I want to know what you guys think. What do you think of the latest generation of Kona Electric? Pop it in the comments down below. I really hope you have enjoyed the video. If you have, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up. And if you do want to see more, then go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you had any questions, or if you want to buy a Kona, or if you wanted to test drive one, then you can do that at Hyundai in Cambridge, John Banks. I'll pop their details down below. Until next time, see you later.